everybody. This is Corey Minton with the Big Data Beard, and we are in Charlotte, North Carolina. Kyle Prinz, how you doing this morning?
Well, how are you?
Doing pretty well. Actually got a full night's sleep last night instead of having to drive on, like yesterday, for 8 hours with only 3 hours of sleep. I think that is one of the unintended consequences of the road trip is we are going to be really tired.
Yeah, it's seeming a little bit like we're gluttons for punishment at this point.
Yeah.
But we're moving on.
That's right. So we are actually at the Top Golf in Charlotte, North Carolina, and here shortly we're going to have a cool conversation with Michael Knight, Global CTO for Dell Technologies IoT and Edge practice, which is going to be fun. But first I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the happenings at Splunk Conf. So we're excited to be headed there in T-minus about 12 days, 13 days.
We'll have to check our dashboard for
That's right. Oh, exactly. And by the way, the dashboards are live and are available. Just go to bigdatabeard.com and click on Road Trip to Conf, and you'll see how to log in and see our live dashboards. But I recently heard that they've announced where search party's happening on Thursday night.
Yes.
All right,
yes.
so Splunkville, USA.
They created their own town.
Their own town, okay.
And since we have pushed Conf back a month this year, they're embracing full-on Halloween theme. So,
ooh, okay.
Yeah.
So Halloween costumes allowed?
Yes. There were some guidelines on there, so be sure to check that out online. But be thinking about what you can go as.
So appropriate costumes.
Yes.
Is me going as Doug Merritt appropriate?
It didn't explicitly say no.
Okay, I think that's what I'm going as officially.
We'll see how you pull it off.
I think, who are you going to go as?
I thought about going as you. Might just shave my head a little bit.
Shave your head? Okay, we can do that on
put on
camera.
ball
I'm in. I'm supportive of this. Your Corey impressions are pretty good. I do appreciate that.
Yeah. I feel like at some point, though, I might get hit. So.
Well, that's how I feel most of the time as well, so that's good.
Maybe we won't. Yeah.
So beyond the search party and all the fun that's happening at Splunk Conf, including the RV being on the pavilion floor, there's also some pretty great sessions from some friends of the Big Data Beard. They're going to be there. So, Kyle, are you giving a presentation at Splunk Conf this year?
I am.
Oh, yeah?
So I am going to be a part of 2 of them.
Oh, big timer.
Yeah, it's... Sorry. No big deal. So we have the first one, which is the IoT in an RV OMG.
It's about this.
Yes, so
That's
we'll
awesome.
be giving a full debrief of what we learned and seeing if we killed each other by the end of it or not. But so that will be Wednesday afternoon, I think 12:30 to be. Yep, Wednesday at 12:30. We don't have a room just yet, but be sure to go ahead and get signed up for that. We'll give you a full debrief and the hows, whats, and whys of what we did and why we did it and how we got there. We're also doing another talk around Splunk apps from Dell EMC and kind of giving a storage administrator perspective of how to utilize Splunk and how to use Splunk properly. So I used to be a customer, managed large storage environments, and also use Splunk as well, so can help share with my experiences from the road. Now, you have a couple.
Indeed.
Well.
No, I only have one this year.
One?
See, I'm only one, but it is my, I think, 6th conf to speak at, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
But my session this year is going to be another architecture kind of update. So there's been a lot of talk in Splunk around some new architectures like Smart Store, and there's some new information around some of the technologies around leveraging more core density. So we're going to go into, really all the architectures, not only hardware related, but also software related, from a virtualization, containerization perspective. So that should be fun. That's on Tuesday at 12:30. I think it's called Secrets of a Splunk Ninja, something about architecture. I can't remember, but it'll be in the catalog shortly. And then we've got our buddy Dean Jackson, who is one of the systems engineers from Brisbane, Australia, your neck of the woods.
Yes.
Is it fair to
Down
say neck
under.
of the woods? Down under, your down under area. He's actually doing a pretty cool session. He is a green energy aficionado, and he's gotten super into it. Like, we went to his house in Brisbane. It's this beautiful traditional Queenslander house, and Queensland, they get a ton of sun, and so he's gone full solar.
Yeah.
And he's got all these solar panels on his roof. He's creating a ton of energy. He's got a Tesla power bank. He's got so much power he's creating that he bought a Tesla car, so he's going to be driving around driven by the sun. Well, all of these things create data, and so Dean is a Splunk nerd of the highest order. So we got to go into his data center closet and see that everything in his house is being instrumented, and he's Splunking it. And so he's going to show us how he's created this green energy oriented Splunk application and use case.
I really thought that I understood smart home automation and really dove into it with 10, 12 devices, but just seeing that monstrosity that he has down there.
Yeah.
Is absolutely incredible. So that will be a lot of fun.
That will be a lot of fun.
Yeah. What else do we have going on?
Jeff Champagne, who you heard on the Big Data Beard podcast, he's going to be doing a session deep dive on index impasse. So lots of methods to improve performance and access. And then another Aussie.
Yeah.
Oh, one of my favorites.
Brisbane.
Simon O'Brien.
Brisbane's
Also
representing.
Yeah, what is it about the density of their intelligence?
Hey,
if you'd have just gotten there.
Wow. Could have brought it down a little.
Could have brought him back to reality. That's right.
Yeah, but so Simon O'Brien's principal project, what we talked about Monday with Jeff, was Splunk Stream. So Simon will be giving an update on that Tuesday at 4:15. It is beginner friendly as well, so you can kind of understand what wire data is and how Splunk views it, and what Simon's done personally with it to help get it into your enterprise.
Yep.
We also have another Simon.
Oh yeah, Simon. Yep, our buddy. So Simon, we've worked closely with for a long time. He actually holds the title. I saw this on the conf website. He's the only person to have presented this year at all 10 Splunk confs.
Wow.
So he holds the title as being a presenter. He started out in support engineering as being the guy who literally, if you called and said Splunk is broken, he was the guy that answered the phone in the early days. And now he's global AVP of global alliances. He's super smart dude. But anyways, he's giving his 10th presentation, so that'll be pretty amazing. So a couple quick events to give you all the heads up on. If you are going to be in Dallas on Sunday the 13th, there's a user group meeting happening, and that user group meeting is actually happening at a Buc-ee's in Terrell, which is I don't know the full details, but if you're part of the Splunk Dallas user group, please come out and hang out. We're bringing the RV. We're going to have a bunch of food and drinks to hang out and chat. You'll be able to get tours of the IoT RV. We're also going to be hanging out with the Austin, Texas Splunk user group on the 14th from 3 to 5.
Texas is just representing.
Man, it's kind of like Australia. Texas and Australia have a lot in common, so we're really bringing the Splunkiness there. And then the Denver user group is happening on October 17th, and we'll be hanging out with the team there. You'll be able to get all the details to where we're going to be and links to find the locations at bigdatabeard.com. Now, we last night, we are innovators. As you can tell, we like to innovate. I'm saying that sarcastically. But we did blow some minds last night as we pulled into the KOA campground in Fort Mill, South Carolina. We pulled in this giant RV, not surprising. And then we unpacked our things. We slid the slide outs out. We got comfortable, and we realized that we needed ice. You need ice. Ice at night is nice. I always like to have a nice glass of ice water before I go to bed. And we realized that the nearest gas station was longer than I really wanted to walk, or anybody wanted to walk.
Well, we've had an exhausting day of sitting around in an RV.
Absolutely.
So
why would you want to walk? It's ridiculous.
Overrated.
And so our innovation was, it was preemptive, premeditated, I'll say. We own scooters, but not just any old scooter. I'm talking electric scooters. And
right.
they're super nerdy. Kind of, if you've ever seen the Lime or the Bird scooters, imagine those, but way more awesome, and they're ours. Like, we own them. So devices are talking to us while we're doing this. This is incredible. So underneath the bay of this RV, there are 3 electric scooters of 3 different varieties, ranging anywhere in price from about $400 all the way up to an undisclosed price that is well more than that because it's super awesome. Scooters. And we're going to be riding scooters around in the campsites whenever we need to go get things. It's our means of transportation, but you would not have believed the faces of people seeing scooters. It was either confusion or total awe. Like, they were like, why didn't I think of that?
Innovators. Yeah, that's the best idea ever.
Yeah, so we did that last night. So look for that. So if you don't see us in the RV, you might see us scooting down the road on scooters.
We do need to get a video of you actually cutting a donut in your scooter, because he has the one scooter that can actually do a burnout.
It could do a wheelie. It's pretty rad.
Of course it can.
I'm just saying. I'm also kind of a big guy, so I need the power if I'm going to get up the hill. So it is what it is.
Enough.
Now, I will say one thing that we thought about that we didn't see that's now going to be one of the pet projects we're going to work on is we need a scooter app, like an app that you would open up on your phone that would capture data about your scooter experience, because each of these scooters is manufactured by different people. Each of them actually has an app. But what about one to aggregate our data to find out who really is the scooter champion?
Now, what kind of data would we want to look at, though? I was thinking vibration,
telemetry, speed,
GPS,
load on the electric motor, if that's possible. I don't know. We'll see what we can get.
Yeah.
But I think Kyle and team here on the RV, while I'm driving, Kyle and Brett are going to hopefully be working on building an app to get all that data into Splunk. So maybe you'll see a new dashboard in the future.
Give us a shot if you want to help out.
If you like to do dashboarding, we always like help. So with that, I want to say it's been fun. We've got a long way left to go. We've got a lot of content that has been created, so I encourage you to check out bigdatabeard.com. Please do go ahead and follow the blog, but also go to YouTube and to iTunes where the podcasts are. And if you can subscribe, like, or give us feedback, if there's specific things that you want to see or specific things you want us to change or get better at, we'd love your feedback. So go ahead and check out the content. There's going to be a lot coming. Season 5 of the Big Data Beard podcast is legitimately Monday through Friday podcast releases. So it's going to be a lot of content, but hopefully you find something in there you like and you can enjoy. So with that, I want to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to get back with Michael Knight, Global CTO of Dell Technologies IoT.
Adopting a true hybrid cloud with common infrastructure and consistent operations across your private and public clouds provides streamlined operations, consistent management, and lower TCO. VMware Cloud Foundation on Dell EMC VxRail delivers the simplest path to hybrid cloud with a fully automated deployment of VMware SDDC on the VxRail hyperconverged platform. Customers realize 15 times faster cloud deployments with VCF on VxRail, and Day 2 operations are simplified with built-in automation and full-stack integration between VxRail Manager and VMware SDDC Manager. Full-stack integration means VxRail Manager and SDDC Manager have been integrated to allow for an automated and seamless update and upgrade process orchestrated by SDDC Manager. That's right. The hyperconverged infrastructure layer and VMware Cloud software stack are lifecycle managed as one complete, automated, turnkey hybrid cloud platform, significantly reducing risk and increasing operational efficiencies. VCF on VxRail enables consistent management and orchestration between private and partner public clouds, enabling organizations to run, manage, connect, and secure their entire application portfolio across multiple clouds. Dell EMC VxRail, the hyperconverged infrastructure foundation for the Dell Technologies cloud platform, empowers customers to unlock innovation, foster operational freedom, and evolve predictably.
All right, well, we're back in the RV with the Big Data Beards road trip to .conf 19. And we're joined by Michael Knight, Global CTO for Dell Technologies IoT and Edge. Michael, welcome.
Yeah, thanks. I learned a couple things this morning.
Okay, well, you have to lay it on me.
So I wish my name was Simon because then I would be smarter.
Yes,
that's
and
true.
from Brisbane.
Yeah, like,
because that would be a and I'm missing something.
You are.
I don't know if I like.
You can just give it time, brother.
All right.
It's gonna.
I'll just sit here and strain for a while and see what happens.
That's right. You can flex real hard.
That's right.
You know, there was a flub in a movie. It was the one of the I can't remember which movie it was where like James Cavill or whatever, the big bulky guy that played Superman, like they cut between scenes and he flexed and a beard grew out a little bit. It was pretty good. So hopefully you can.
I'm working on it right now.
That's good. So Michael, tell us a little bit about what you do for Dell Technologies.
Sure. So the Dell Technologies Industry IoT and Edge group is really focused on what we would probably is the best way to describe it is the Pan-Dell solutions. So across the 7 strategically aligned businesses and ecosystem partners, as well as independent software vendors, we build solutions that we can bring to market for our customers. So that could be anything from a federated analytic enabled IoT solution to a cloud native deployment of applications, which could also include machine learning right to the edge. And a big part of our business, of course, is safety and surveillance. So think video surveillance, but think video surveillance evolved with computer vision.
Okay.
Right? Taking AI and making the camera not just record, but be able to create a outcome or a response for things that are going on.
Very cool. So Dell Technologies is the big company, right?
Yes.
And then there's companies underneath it. But your team seems to be an interesting blend because you actually work at the Dell Technologies level, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So we are the first and maybe still only. There's a large company, native Dell Technologies BU, and it was purposely designed so that we could take advantage of all those technologies. And every one of those companies has an amazing arsenal of capability, solutions, products, and people, and they're doing very specifically focused items that are very impactful, right? But many times customers say like, well, I love all these things. Is there a way that we can really bring them all together? And that's really where our BU sits.
Very cool. So when people think Dell, most of the time people think laptops.
Yes, it's a very nice Dell laptop.
That's right.
There.
We're operating on.
Yes.
This is a very Dell powered RV these days. But most people think laptops, right? That's the first thing that comes to mind. Dell's much more than that. So
Sure.
just at a high level, Dell Technologies, like if you talk about like what is it that why did they put these companies all together and kind of with the vision of what we're
Sure.
trying to accomplish?
Well, the one of the best ways I've heard someone describe it was, Dell Technologies is a company that's engineered for choice, and what we can recognize is that customers are at different spaces and time frames in their adoption of technology or digitization. Got to throw that word in there.
Digital transformation.
Yes, we have to
buzzword bingo.
do the shot every time we say
that's
one of these. The show's gonna get fun.
Yeah, that's right.
But one of the things that is important about that is that customers are all at a different part of that journey. So some may have made an investment in some types of technology, but they've recognized that they need to course correct. And most people can't just throw out what they have, right? So you have to be able to be impactful at certain places. So oftentimes it's, virtualization, that's kind of an accepted thing where I'm going to virtualize these different workloads.
Yeah.
But it's also getting to, now I need to be able to scale or burst to the cloud. But how can I do that in a way where I don't have to refactor everything that I do?
Yeah.
And that's VMs, applications, containers, and we can go across, all sorts of different areas with that. So I think the real power of Dell Technologies is whether a customer has reached what I would consider the correct conclusion that Dell Technologies has everything that they need, but there are definitely different places to jump in there with that.
Yeah.
And our ecosystem partner network is phenomenal. Splunk and others, that it allows us to be very impactful and very nimble.
Yeah, it's funny. We often hear organizations when we talk about an outcome. We're going to get to those. It's not one company that does everything.
Absolutely.
Right? You got to have one company can do a lot of things. Dell Technologies with their portfolio clearly does a lot. But you're right; those partnerships are incredibly important.
Absolutely.
And you guys sit at the intersection of those. So let's talk about some of those outcomes. So when you think
Sure.
about IoT, and it's one thing, we have the buzzword bingo. I said IoT again. When you think about technology, it's really only interesting if it solves a problem
Sure.
or does something cool. So what are some of your favorite sort of outcomes that you've helped organizations achieve leveraging IoT and technologies from Dell?
Yeah, so IoT, I think everybody can agree many times, means it's only talk. And it becomes a science project, right? Oh, look at all these things we connected. What'd you do with it? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, this
I got a
DRV
ton
is a
of
science
data.
project.
Yeah, it's perfect. And one of the things that we're very intentional about, and so IoT can mean and should mean an intentional outcome through transformation, right? So that's two very
Whoa.
specific things that we just did there.
There you go.
I feel it. But the interesting thing that we've been able to do is take a step back from all the technology that somebody has purchased. They're halfway between deployments and ask them some very specific questions. What are you trying to achieve? What can you change? What can't you change? And what are you unwilling to change? Because those are very important things. To get to an outcome, you have to understand what some emotional drivers or political drivers are certainly as part of that too. So when you're able to do that, the customer will come forward and say, I've adopted these 3 things. I really like this model, but I'm not able to scale quick enough. I'm not able to get to my end result. Well, what's the end result? I need a timely delivery of insights. I've been backhauling this to a cloud, which I need to do that in some instances, but right now I'm getting killed with IoT effect, this massive stream of data. I'm not able to refine it quickly enough, so my time to value is terrible. I've ingested it all into the cloud, and now that I'm trying to exfiltrate some of that data, that dollar dial just keeps spinning quickly it's blowing my hair. Now that's one thing I've got.
Yeah, you got hair.
I've got a quiff, if you will.
You got great hair. It's too strong.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But when you ask about a specific outcome, it's being able to create a solution for a customer to where they can refine their data locally or in place, but learn globally. So they're able to take data sets from all over the globe, all in sort of distributed places, but be able to, without breaking GDPR, right? Because I can't copy data between countries and move it offsite. I can't coalesce that information, but I can learn from it locally and build models then that I can globally inference and build a much higher trained, higher learned model without jeopardizing personally identifiable information. And so when we look at what's a high pay target for a customer, you ask them, do you want to be able to refine your data without moving it? Yes. Do you want to learn from that from all over the place? Yes. And get quick insights without getting in trouble with GDPR.
Right.
Right. And that flows directly into with Splunk. right? I've got all these different repositories all over the place. How can I learn from that data without having to mesh that and move PII? So it's kind of a big deal.
It's sort of a big deal. Yeah, I like that. So that doesn't sound like something that you typically would think, oh, Dell does that. Like that, it doesn't sound like you sell a server or a storage to do that problem. What is it that Dell's delivering to actually make that real, or make that vision, idea real?
And back to what you said earlier, what Dell Technologies is, a grouping of companies, and we have a fantastic cloud platforms, and a lot of those are developed and delivered by VMware. We have great hyper-converged infrastructures and scale-out platforms that's delivered by Dell EMC and Dell. And then even from a networking components and software-defined, right? That goes across all of those different organizations. And it also bursts out to RSA for cybersecurity. New Carbon Black acquisitions are very important. Bitfusion acquisition, right? That's a big deal, being able to punt a workload that your local environment can't handle to where a GPU sits. Those are huge things. And so every one of those organizations, including Boomi with the data interconnects component of that, SecureWorks to help manage a lot of security infrastructure, every one of those plays a critical role. And our job, is to be the amalgamator of all of those capabilities and create these solutions. And that's why the solutions that we design allow customers to adopt and use those without penalty. And that's probably one of the things I always like to underline, is without penalty.
Yeah.
Because, I made a choice. I can't use that over there. I can't move to that cloud. I can't use these assets. That's untenable, right? That used to be the way that it is.
Yeah.
Look at my data islands, right?
Yeah, exactly.
that's not where
not
we want to live. Look at all this.
Yeah.
But if we can avoid the mass chaos and enable heterogeneous environments to operate in a homogeneous manner, then it's a win. That's a lot of big words.
Yeah, that was.
I would have to take like 8 shots there.
That's
I might be out.
It's too early. This is all espresso. So it's funny. One of the use cases you mentioned was video surveillance is one that industry is being disrupted in terms of this ability to use computer vision. Helping understand what's happening in video surveillance, why computer vision is so interesting in that industry.
Absolutely. So video surveillance is a absolute critical need. But in most cases, it ends up being reactive because a single individual can't sit there and watch all the panes of glass.
No.
Right? And you heard the term video walls, like, I've got all these screens and all these cameras. Well, now the one step back I would say is some of these kids that can play Fortnite, they can probably watch all those screens at once. I personally can't. Yeah. That's not a capability.
If you take Adderall, you could probably watch the video
that's
walls.
Right. Absolutely. But from that standpoint, video surveillance oftentimes has been very reactive. And you basically you're learning from something that happened, you're going back and you're correcting something that unfortunately happened. What computer vision enables is for you to be proactive when something happens.
Yep.
So proactivity comes in a couple different forms. It can be anything by noticing that normally there's 20 pedestrians in this screen.
Yeah.
Well, now there's 200. That's unusual. Usually that foot traffic is moving at 3 miles per hour. Now it's 10. This is an unusual situation. Something's occurring, and you can apply that to smart cities, to schools.
Yeah.
You can even look at it inside of a customer's plant environment, right? If I have a camera that's sitting out there that's normally just recording people moving things from here to there, if all of a sudden I have a major shift or there's additional lighting in there, I could have a fire, there's other problems. I need to be able to deal with that very quickly.
Yeah.
So as opposed to just going, gee, I wish I would have seen that happening.
But sure glad I recorded it.
Yeah, because that's going to help for the people that were harmed by that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's very unfortunate, right? Or when you have, sometimes it's, there are the funny sides to that where you have a robotic arm in a plant that's just swinging in circles, right?
Yeah.
Well, whatever the name of that shows on Discovery where the robots fight, you don't want to have that happen in your plant.
No.
That's a bad day. So I think it's really enabling that camera to truly be a sensor. And the important part about that is that camera, generally speaking, and there's monitoring for this, Pulse IoT Center.
There you go.
Somebody said something about that once upon a time, but these devices are always online, 24/7, 365, and leveraging that capability and using the right artificial intelligence model or machine learning component to enable that specific outcome for that customer. But here's the thing. Cameras and video management systems often have been static.
Absolutely.
Right? You get your firmware update. Now you got this new feature. When do I get my next one? In 3 years. Right? And I'm not besmirching that industry. Just is what it is. what we think about today, so on your phone, and I won't judge you if you have got a Windows Mobile. Yes, I will. I will judge you if you have Windows Mobile. But from an app standpoint, you can say, I need this because my situation changed.
Yeah.
Right. Within video surveillance, that's been a bit, as I said, a bit static. But enabling computer vision, which you don't have to change your VMS for that. You don't. In most cases, you don't even have to change your camera for that. You're able to take that stream of data, run that across the right machine learning algorithm or AI model for that specific time and place, and see I can change those or use multiple ones, right? So you may have an app that works for you today, Lime Scooter app.
Yeah.
But you went to a new city that doesn't have Lime scooters. You need to pop a new app on there.
I did.
Right?
That happened recently.
And or there's ones that aggregate all of those, right?
There is.
So yes, there is. I was looking it up earlier. Totally cheated.
Nice.
On that one, but it's a way to do different things much more nimbly, so the customer, as something's changing for them, gets a real outcome. And one example of that is, let's say that in your normal business environment, you have a stream of 10 people, 15 people that are walking through your cameras, right? So you kind of see the people coming and going. But now you just did an all-hands meeting. You do those once a year.
Yep.
Well, now that pedestrian counter is not going to work. You needed a crowd counter for those people coming in for that. So just for that 1 day or 2 day, be able to leverage that to make sure that you know how many people are coming in, how many are going out for life safety or for some type of other business enablement function. It's so critical. And those are the architectures that we're really driving forward with computer vision. And fortunately, and we're very grateful for it, having a lot of success.
Yeah, very interesting. And that's a combination of, as you said, it's Dell Technologies, but you're working with a broad range of partners.
Absolutely.
And like this. So help me understand, like what partners, why is it so critical for partners? Because there's got to be things that they do where there's hands off. How do you work with partners more formally?
Absolutely. So we have programs from an IoT standpoint or enablement, and there's a couple different ways that those partners can come in depending on what they do. Whether it's a ruggedized edge gateway that maybe Dell doesn't have in our portfolio, or it's a machine learning algorithm that they've spent years designing and training. The things that's important for us is you started off with was, how can we help our customers, right? So when you take a step back and you see what they need, well, they need a solution that's going to do these 3 or 4 things. Well, we may have the scale-out storage and the deployment mechanisms and the federated deep learning and other things, but we don't have the niche cameras. We don't have the niche machine learning algorithms that are required for that. And our partners like Intel and NVIDIA with their machine learning deployment models, whether that's OpenVINO, or Metropolis, depending on that customer's need and what they may have already purchased, which kind of flows into that environment too, we can enable that right outcome for that end user. And for the partners, we have extensive labs that we have ourselves, as well as we work with other ecosystem partners where we test all these things. Because I don't know if you're familiar, but just because the white paper says it'll work with something doesn't mean it actually works as promised. No plan survives contact with reality, right?
That's right.
So the lab version of that's great, but actually then pushing it through its paces and testing it to fail is critical. So I want to give a shout out to Bryce Bergeson, who's on our team that runs our labs, and his team does a fantastic job of going through there and making sure that when we say this vSAN version working on this IoTSS scale-out HCI platform, kicking out to Isilon, ECS, S3 buckets, and working with Project Metropolis and this machine learning algorithm provider, thus and so, it's going to work like this.
Yeah.
And I want to give huge kudos to his team, because without that, we couldn't scale as fast as we're doing.
Absolutely.
So Bryce?
Way to go, Bryce.
Great success.
Well, and it's there's this truth that they're all companies are moving towards, they don't want to buy products, they want to buy solutions to problems. And so I think it's really interesting work your team's doing to solve for outcomes, bring those partners together. And I think that's the responsibility of a big technology company like a Dell Technologies, is to have that partner network so that an organization who wants to achieve the outcome can go to one big company and then understand that they're going to get brought in with a bunch of the smaller ones and help vet that technology. So what's the best place for folks to learn more about what Dell's doing in the industrial and IoT industry?
Sure. So under the Dell EMC website, there's a /surveillance. There's also the industry IoT pages that are an important part of that too. There's also, we've got a number of open source efforts that we're going along with, like EdgeX is an important one for that. Obviously, you've heard about Project Tanzu and some of those things that's going on with VMware. All of these components, it's very important to see that the amount of orchestration that's required and things like that. But under that /surveillance, and obviously the industry IoT is coming on in a broader standpoint, is just looking for the reference architectures that we're building there. But also one thing I wanted to note too is when customers need something like that, there's a lot of groundwork that needs to be done. So we have a huge arsenal of global systems integrators we work with, whether that's an Accenture or Deloitte or a Wipro or Cognizant, Atos, all of and I'm not purposely leaving everybody out. That's just quick off the cuff. But but those partners are critically important, because when somebody wants something deployed to 400 factories, that's not something that our team has the capability to do, right? We don't have the scale. There's some very important things that they do as part of that. So I think if you look at the ecosystem, you have the Dell Technologies umbrella of software, hardware, products, solutions, and platforms. And then from outside of that, we have got our GSI partners, our OEM partners, and ecosystem partners, like we mentioned before. All of those things together really provides what Dell Technologies, the industry IoT and Edge team, brings to the table. And it's about what the customer needs and ensuring that it's vetted and validated, and that at the end of it, the customer said, I got more than I paid for.
Very cool.
As Ken Mills says, under promise, over deliver.
There you go. I like
and
that.
And only sandbag a little bit in sales.
That's right. Good advice. Well, it's been awesome, Michael, to catch up with you to learn about what Dell Technologies is doing with IoT. Are you a guy on social media? Do we follow you somewhere there?
Sure. So my Twitter handle is KnightMJK. It's funny, the whole Michael Knight thing, the Hoff kit and everything else. And people are like, does that bother you? I said, look, it could be Michael Bolton. We know about that, right? So,
that's true.
So embrace the suck and just have a good time with it. Yeah. So I don't go over the top on the Knight Rider side, but it is fun wordplay, and fortunately most people still know about that because he's still singing in Germany, which is important.
Huge. The Hoff is huge.
Keep going, buddy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Never let it go.
Yeah.
Well, dude, we thank you so much for coming to the IoT on the Big Data Beard's road trip to .conf. And apologies that the live stream didn't seem to be working too well, but hopefully you enjoyed the show. We'll see you down the road.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of Breakfast with the Beards. Breakfast with the Beards is part of the Big Data Beard road trip to Splunk's Conf 2019. Be sure to check out all of our great content at bigdatabeard.com, and also follow our podcast in your favorite podcast app simply by searching Big Data Beard. This amazing adventure would not be possible without our incredible sponsors. We thank you, Dell Technologies, VMware, Red River Technologies, Arrow Electronics, and Converging Data for making the road trip to Splunk.conf 2019 possible. We'll see you down the road.